Hello, hello. I want to welcome all of you to another hour of some of the stuff you cannot hardly find anywhere else except here on the Universal Consciousness Show. My name is Aage, and I'm one of the hosts, and I'm here in the southwest of the United States where it's nice and warm. And I'm good with that. And my co-host is Diana, and she is over in Germany. Are you there, Diana?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hi, hi. Now, we're going to have some fun tonight, today or this morning, wherever you are in the world, because we are streaming live on YouTube and we are live everywhere on the internet. So, for those of you that would like to listen to this show afterwards or like to see the archive, you can find us pretty much everywhere on the internet, and you can also go to a website where I store it, and that is www.aage-nost. And for those of you that like to participate in the show, you can call in to a phone number where you can get on the air, you can ask some questions, and we are going to do that in the second half of the show. So you can write this phone number down. That's 202-559-7943. And now I can see a whole bunch of you out there running around the place trying to find a piece of paper and a pen. So now you learned your lesson. You got to have a piece of paper and a pen close by when you listen to this show. I'll repeat this number though. And if you have friends that can't get to a computer right now, call them and tell them that you can listen live at 701-719-9704. And that is where we are for the moment. Now, we have a very exciting guest tonight or today here. We will be talking about mind-matter interaction, healing, and how the universe or the universal consciousness can interact with our physical body and have a lot of influence of it. I have a guest with me here that her name is Nori Love. Excuse me. Nori is an RN, that's a registered nurse, and she's a certified law of attraction life coach, an entrepreneur, and she is also an author. She is a Reiki master and healing artist and a medical intuitive. Medical intuitive. Boy, there is a show brewing in that term alone, and we're going to do that sometime if I can talk her into it. She also consults and coaches on the mind-body connection and assists others in stepping into their full potential for both healing and in their life. Her mission is to help people interact and increase the well-being of all levels of their body and their mind, and access the greater potential for health, wealth, and happiness. And you can find her on the internet, and I'm going to read some of these connections that you can find her on. So if you run the recording later on in the archive, you will find this. Hypnotherapy with Love on Facebook. Coaching with Love also on Facebook. You can find her on Twitter at Coach Nori Love, and on LinkedIn at Nori Love. And she's also on Instagram with coaching_W_love. And for those of you that want to contact her, you can get her on CoachingbyNori@gmail.com, or everythingconscious@gmail.com. And she is in the process of perfecting a website. There is things on there now, but there will be more here shortly. And that is www.everythingconscious.com. So, Nori, welcome to the show with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Nori, and thank you so much for being here with us. I heard Aage speaking about you, and I'm asking myself, being a registered nurse, there must have been an event that caused you to step out of the box and head down to the path of healing in addition to nursing. Can you tell us what that event was?
Well, it actually didn't quite happen that way, although it does happen that way for many. I came to the planet with the gift of healing, and I couldn't even account for it. You know, when I was young, animals would come to me, adults would come to me, and I just thought that that was normal. Intuitively, books would come to me. Like my father handed me a book when I was 10 years old on how to develop your psychic awareness. So that part of the universe opened to me at a very early age. And events of healing would happen like in restaurants or in public places. And for whatever reason, I was reluctant to call myself a healer. So I went through the things that I had a passion about. You know, I studied different modalities. I actually studied Reiki way back in the day. I opened myself to self-hypnosis when I was very young. But the logical, Western path just seemed like a more, appropriate path for me. I was a little nervous about calling myself a healer. So I became a nurse. But I carried, the soul of the healer with me everywhere I went. And I finally, when I was trying to come out of the closet, because people would come to me, secretly, and I would, heal, I would work on their broken ankle. And when I was ready to come out of the closet, I was working in the burn and the trauma ICU, which was, we used to joke with, nursing dark humor, that if the pieces were still living, we would try to put them together. So I went there and I dared the universe to prove to me, in this setting where the bodies were so broken and burned and where the electrical interference was so great, you prove to me that I'm a healer here and then I'll come out of the closet. Well, there were a series of events. There were 2 patients in particular that had injuries that the most seasoned trauma surgeons had never even seen. And it was very synchronistic that there were 2 of them, 2 separate accidents, and they were both my patients. And I got to do what I intuitively knew to do. And they had 99.9% mortality rates, and both of them, after a very long time, lived and thrived to eventually leave the hospital. So with that, I began to step out, and it's been an evolution, of stepping out. And fortunately for me, society, and mainstream has caught up a little bit more with the alternative arena. Some of the hospitals are offering Reiki in the hospitals, music therapy. That's not quite as woo-woo as Reiki. But that's how it came that I was, both, I had a foot in the Western world, and then I had a foot in the alternative and the spiritual world.
Yeah, and you haven't really had any flack from the allopathic system at all then, more or less?
Well, when I was coming out as a healer, like one of those patients told the trauma surgeon, I would work with these patients when they were in comas, and I would essentially guide them through healing meditations, and I would encourage them to use their thoughts and their words, inside their head to make themselves well. And one of the patients told the chief trauma surgeon that Nori healed me. And the doctor said, well, we're sure that Nori is a really good nurse. And the patient said, no, she healed me. So I did take some flack, and got some ribbing. But now, when I'm so passionate about what I do, and it's all of these certifications and modalities were simply to complement the fabric of who I am. So I really don't take any flack anymore, but I have, yes.
Yeah, well, my philosophy is that if you're not getting any flack, you're not doing anything. So I'm glad to hear you had some.
What's that word? What is that profound saying? Haters gonna hate and potatoes gonna potate. It makes no sense, right?
Okay.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. And let's deal a little more with the healing part in the second part of the show, because I know you want to take some calls also. But you're also a hypnotherapist. And
Yeah.
that is really close to my heart, and I'm very interested in that because I'm a hypnotist also, and I haven't done much with it exactly lately, but there is a lot there that really people need to know about, because once you get into that subconscious and even the superconscious mind, the below the conscious mind here, magic can happen. And how did that come about for you, the hypnosis part?
Yes. Thank you for asking that. And I could tell that you're a hypnotist. I can sense it in your language. Your language is wonderful, and it conjures up pictures for me.
Mm.
Hypnotherapy I became interested in when I was young. I had some pretty big trauma when I was a little girl, me too. And being different and aware, during my early healing, I recognized that there was a part of my brain that kept me protected from the pain of what I went through. And I noticed that that part of my brain also blocked me from remembering everything that I went through. So I began to look into hypnosis on my own, and I was very young and very well practiced. I actually got myself to the point where I had a root canal with no anesthesia. Now, I don't think I could ever do that again, but I was so practiced that I was able to create that degree of relaxation and trance in myself. So my love for hypnosis began also at a very early age, and it resurfaced after I was certified in Law of Attraction. I was certified in Law of Attraction through the Quantum Success Coaching Academy, and they also have Quantum Edge Healing Institute. And my beloved instructor, Evelyn Apostolou, was offering the hypnotherapy class, and it just felt perfect for me. And now I have a building business, and I love working with people on that level. I just absolutely love it.
Well, you've been doing that for quite a while then. You must have some success stories maybe that you could mention to us?
Wow, I have some great success stories. I have a lovely lady who came to me for grief. Her father had passed away, and she did not get to say goodbye and had a lot of unresolved feelings, and a lot of sadness around it. Mm-hmm. So we did a hypnotherapy session, and the thing that I love about hypnotherapy is that the subconscious mind will speak to you in ways that are so lovely. They're symbolic and they're colorful, and some people feel things, most people see things, and the scenes are so pleasant for them. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to go back and do the primal scream. You don't have to relive the trauma in order to receive the benefit from it. And it actually turned out that her session involved, arriving in a beautiful forest where there was an empty chair, and her father came and sat in the chair, and it involved magical butterflies and, beautiful dialogue with each other. And she just is so relieved, and she feels free, and satisfied. I also work with people who are going to have surgery to pre-pave the way so that their surgical outcome is optimal and that they have less pain or no pain. So too, I work with athletes who are getting ready for contests. And of course, the usual things that people want to work on. Quitting smoking. I've had people do great with quitting smoking. Losing weight, body transformation. That's one of my favorite areas to work with. So.
Do you also do time regression?
I do regression. I use many hypnotic scripts. Regression, I work with chakras, where people can go in and I'm very big on, actually, I totally believe that I don't heal people, they heal themselves. I hold the space and ask the right questions for them to heal themselves. So I work with the chakras. People can go in and actually adjust their own chakras. I mean, who knows better but your wise mind or your subconscious mind. I do regression, do some entity releasing, and then the traditional, habit control and habit release. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Did it happen to you while you were doing time regression that you get in a past life regression? So the patient, if it's going to the cause of the pain, it goes to the past life. Did it happen to you, something like that?
I actually have had past life regression and had a really great experience with it. And then the client that actually went into a past life, it was a surprise to me. I did not know that was where she was going. But asking the right questions helped that to become a positive experience. We got into some territory that was a little murky. So I had to be very, very skillful and very, very mindful to help guide her through that. But yes, amazing. We don't know what we're carrying around with us, that doesn't belong to even this life.
Yeah, that's actually a little tricky to do time regressions like that, because think about it. What if let's say you took somebody back 240 years, and that just happened to be at the time when they were being killed. That could be a phenomenal trauma to relive again. So you got to be a little careful. And I got a story on this one that just blew me away when I first discovered it. I took somebody back, and I kept taking them back and back and back, and then suddenly she started to speak another language, and it became kind of obvious that it was a Far Eastern language, more like Chinese or Japanese, and I didn't understand a thing, but I kept asking questions, and she kept answering in that language. And I thought, well, okay, let's continue. Now it all goes on tape, so we can decipher it later on. And after about, it must have been 20 minutes of talking to her, I asked her, how she was and where she was and who she was and the conditions around her and things like that. And when we were done, I took her about 2,500 years back. And when we were done, I ran the tape for her. She was sitting there with her jaw on the floor, just listening, because she had no idea that what she had said. And I didn't know what to do with it, and I mentioned it to another guy, and he said, oh yeah, he said, send it to the language department at the University of Minnesota. He says, I know somebody down there, and he gave me the name, and I did, and he said, send it to me, I'll see what I can do, and I didn't hear anymore. 6 months later, I got an envelope with the tape in it and a partial transcript. He didn't know what to do with it, but he knew somebody at the University of Osaka in Japan. So he had sent it to him, and that guy in Osaka, he had been able to decipher some of it to the point where about half of it was actually deciphered. It was a language that was abolished over 1,000 years ago. Nobody used it anymore. How could this lady understand that language that nobody used anymore?
Wow.
So there is definitely something to this time regression. And it is simple to do. You know, under hypnosis, you can ask those questions because you're not asking the brain anymore. You're asking the mind.
Exactly. And in the beginning of the sessions, especially if I know we're going to do regression, we build in, a lot of anchors, if you will, good feeling places, the ability for the client to do a freeze frame, if they get into an uncomfortable place, and that has worked out really well for me so far. I mean, I have had one client that just ended up, in literally in really deep water with seaweed, and she was physically uncomfortable. So that was about the most challenging scene I had to navigate. But yes, it's amazing. I mean, I am in awe of it every day.
Yeah, there is so much there. I tell you, the mind is, I think the people on Star Trek got it all wrong when they said space, the final frontier. No, it isn't. The mind is the final frontier.
Exactly. And we're only tapping into such a small part of it. So when people are able to quiet the chattery mind and the ego mind and the mind that was shaped because of limitation, because of what we were taught in our family or trauma or whatever, when we are able to quiet that and go to the place where all of the answers, even so far back, reside, I mean, you can do anything there, really.
That's right. There is no limitations to it because you're reaching into that pool where past, present, and future already is sitting there. And did you catch that? Future is also sitting there, because if you have thought of it in the future, you have given it a low form of life, and it's placed into that pool of common knowledge.
Absolutely.
And you can attach it.
I love that you brought that up, and you do attach it. And one of the sessions that I do is meeting your future self, and that begins to make that connection for the person. And it's amazing to me how, when you do attach to that, how expedited the manifestation of it is, that it actually comes about.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, I bet there's some of the listeners that is thinking, maybe I should call Nori because I want to find out what kind of stupid stuff I'm doing in the future.
Well, I love when people meet their future selves. I mean, it's always so amazing. And then they go back to waking life with a tool so that they can connect, right away, reconnect with their future self during their waking life. So, that helps keep them connected to that vision and connected to that, potential manifestation. Mm-hmm.
That's excellent, because if you can meet yourself in the future, you know what you have done up to that point, and that could be a guidepost for you for things to avoid, even because the one in the future, okay, here goes quantum physics again. We have several timelines going into the future. So let's say that the based on your previous experience and what you have done, how you think, you will create a future timeline. So if you then go forward and meet yourself and find out what you have done between now and that point, if there's something really bad in there, you may want to consider doing something different, create a different timeline where that bad thing doesn't happen.
Exactly. Or maybe not even something bad, right? So maybe you can just look back and go, okay, what am I doing, in that I need to let go of right now?
Yeah.
That is not in alignment with my future self. Mm-hmm. And that actually makes, habits fall away with greater ease. Thought processes, shift. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because those bad things, they are learning experience. It's the way we look at it is the only reason why it may appear bad, because it may be a positive learning experience that appears to be bad in the physical reality. Mm-hmm. So there may be, but we can still learn from our future self what we could do, and if we learn the concepts involved in that presumed bad experience, then we may not necessarily have to go through that. We could create a different path.
Yes. I mean, true, some of our most difficult or traumatic experiences often bring us to our greatness, but they don't have to, I agree with you, they don't have to be so painful. Or why couldn't you have the greatness and have that outcome without having a big trauma? Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I know all about that.
But Nori, I also have a question speaking about future self. Without going to a hypnotherapist and without, even though nobody is doing the connection with my future self, is it possible that my future self will try to contact me, the now me, in order to remove an error from the past of my future self? Because I felt that several times and I don't know how to interpret this.
Really? Wow, that's amazing. So it feels, well, might get complicated, but it feels to me like you are connected, on so many dimensions. You're connected to yourself on so many dimensions that you are aware of that. I think that that's absolutely possible.
Okay, because after I did the reconnection from Dr. Eric Pearl, I felt that while I was meditating, I just felt that a presence that it was inside me, a new presence that I didn't feel before, and I felt like it was something very friendly that tried to remove some errors. I just felt that, just intuitive, and I felt that this could be a future me.
Wow. Were you aware of what it might be trying to remove or alleviate, or?
No, I wasn't aware, but I just trusted and I just allowed. I just thought I allow everything to happen, and I just allowed because I know it seems like a kind of intuition. Maybe this intuition that we feel is always the future us, that it's coming to remove the errors. Because sometimes you want to do something and there is like a voice that stops you. And you say, oh, it was my intuition, but maybe it is a future us, and we don't know.
It could be, but I have to say that you are quite remarkable to have that insight. A lot of people are not as open, or have a hard time. It's a process of them being able to open to their future self. So whatever brought you to that is an absolute gift. Amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, the mind is a wondrous thing, and the more we learn about it, the more questions we get. And like Diana said there, I have felt also that there are times when I do things and I get this little voice in the back of my head saying, nah, don't do it. And then, of course, sometimes I went ahead and did it anyway. And then later on, I end up telling myself, "No, I knew better than that, but I did it anyway. So now look where I am."
Right. Right.
Oh, that happened to me several times. And, you know, you learn from that. You learn to listen to that little voice in the back of your head. And gosh, we're about 30 seconds away from a break here. So, when we get back, let's speak a little more about healing and Reiki, because this is a modality of healing that is being more and more accepted into hospitals and clinics. And in fact, there is a hospital in Tucson, Arizona here that allow a Reiki practitioner to come in and work on people. So it is coming, and like she said, we're waking up. So let's come back in about 4 minutes, and then we will do a short video, and then we will talk more about healing and Reiki and all those things.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall.
The L&M Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the L&M Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
There is a better radio show, beyond that which is known to the people. It is a radio show more informative than others, and as timeless as infinity. It is the equilibrium between light and dark, between the sheeple and the paranormal, and it is heard at the base of man's ignorance and at the summit of his knowledge. This is the radio show of imagination, a show we call The Secret Teachings.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Kraft, and I'm a Reiki Master Teacher. Today, I'm showing you how to do Reiki. Right now, I'm showing you how Reiki works. You can do Reiki on yourself, others, your animals, or even inanimate objects. So, for example, if you wanted to add more life force energy into your food or your water, you could Reiki that. You could also Reiki your car or your computer. When you're doing Reiki on someone in person, you just place your hands very lightly on them, like this. Or you can hold your hands slightly above them, a few inches above them, like this. The energy still goes to them, whether you're touching them or not. If you're doing Reiki from a distance, you can just imagine that the person is small and inside your hands like this and send them energy that way. Or you can visualize that you're there with them doing Reiki on them. Because everything is energy, you can just send that energy where you want it to go. Reiki has its own intelligence. So, for example, if I'm doing Reiki on the head, but more energy is needed at the foot, it will go there. The Reiki energy changes temperature depending on what is needed by the recipient. So if there's an injury that requires cold, Reiki energy will turn cold at that location. As soon as I move my hands to another location, the Reiki energy turns hot again, if that's what's needed. Reiki heals on all levels, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So it goes to the origin of the issue. It may take several sessions for you to see an improvement of your condition because it's healing at the origin of the issue, whether it's the soul, mental, emotional level. It shows up in the physical level as the last place. There are other conditions that Reiki can help with immediately, things like accidents or other environmental causes. So that's how Reiki works. Next, I'm going to explain what a Reiki session is like.
Okay, I think we should be coming back here from break.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, here we are. I think I screwed up there because we were probably running that and it didn't show on my end. So, hey, let's get back to Reiki. Now you've been doing that for quite a while. Explain a little bit, how does that interact from the universal mind into the body, and maybe just educate us a little bit first, and then we can get into more meat of it.
Well, Reiki is universal energy. You know, universal energy, universal life force. When a person becomes a Reiki practitioner, they are attuned to the energies, which is similar, I guess, similar to a rite of passage, really, where you open to the energies and you become like a conduit for the energy to flow through you. Of course, there are other practices, and there are other ways that we apply what we know as Reiki masters in order to facilitate the Reiki session. But it is universal energy. It's the same energy that the laying on of hands is. Actually, when I was in the church, I used to be called, this was when I was in the closet, I would be called in for people who had special healing needs. So it's the same energy. It's just, the different modalities kind of package it up differently. And that's mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they probably, the different healing modalities, like the Christians, they're calling it a laying of hands.
Yeah.
And I think they're probably tapping into the same source, so they get the same funnel. You turn yourself into maybe a conduit to the point where you are actually the one that is leading the energy to the person, but they are doing it themselves because they are the ones that is pulling it in. Or am I onto something there? Or
Absolutely, absolutely. And as a Reiki practitioner, there are systematic places, ways to put your hands that facilitates your learning of the hand positions. But when you become a seasoned practitioner, and you soon discover that you are guided by the person's energy that's pulling the Reiki to really where you need to go. And if Reiki is done in a distance modality, the Reiki just naturally goes where it's needed, the energy.
Yeah, there is a balance in the universe, and if a person that is has an illness, then there is an imbalance in that person. So the only reason they're probably sick is because that they have violated some universal principles or health principles. So they have created that balance, and the universe would like to correct that balance, but they are blocking it.
Well, absolutely. Our divine nature is whole, complete, and healthy, and violate is a big word, but dis-ease or any physical malady or anomaly that shows up first happens on the energetic level. Absolutely. And the universe does want to balance that, and return us to our whole, perfect, and complete state. And that's part of, I think, why I was so natural at this, is that I just have a habit of seeing people as whole, perfect, and complete. And that just seems to amplify where the energy goes, or my passion for it. I'm not even sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely. And also in this segment now, all the way up to the top of the hour, Nori says that she could like to take some calls if anybody has something that they want to talk to her about. And the telephone number for that is, gosh, where did I have that? Here it is. It's the calling in number is 202-559-7943. That's 202-559-7943. So if somebody can find their pen and write that down and call us, that would be great. And what have you experienced? Is it possible to use Reiki on yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's part of the training. You have to give yourself Reiki when you're learning consistently for 30 days. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's amazing. But anybody who has felt that energetic, tingling or champagne feeling coming off their hands and knowing that it's had an impact on another person, it's just the way that makes sense to you to express it, or to express it, to the world.
Mm-hmm. So what they're doing then, the person you are doing the healing with is pulling the energy in through you. Is that kind of how it works?
Well, the words pulling energy have been used. I've heard people use that language. But I think it's more of a energetic and divine flow, to equalize the imbalance. So whether the person pulls it or whether their electromagnetic field that has deficits pulls it, it's definitely flowing. I'll say that, to fill in, the energetic gaps or dark spots, or, however people see that. But what you said before makes such good sense. And being a law of attraction life coach, all my modalities blend together. But being completely connected to your life force, to your higher self, to your higher mind, is the optimal state where we experience health and well-being. And you're right, when we're closed off to it, then we experience physical, spiritual, or emotional pain, or dis-ease. So you're 100% right from that. So blocking it is one of the ways that's described. Yes.
Okay.
But do you connect the human pain and the human sufferance with the lack of self-love?
Well, that does factor in for some people, and it can be, self-love creates the pain, or the lack of self-love creates the pain, or the pain creates the lack of self-love. But absolutely, self-love is so critically important to every aspect of our being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the saying goes, yeah, go ahead.
I think that the people, they are not aware about the lack of self-love. They don't understand what self-love is. They are confusing that with egoistic or something like that. So it is not clear what self-love is, I think.
No, and that's 100% true. And for every person that I work with, each one has a different idea of what self-love is. So I meet people where they are. Some people are so far away from self-love that we have to begin with just becoming aware of, you're right, of what self-love is. And sometimes we start with very physical things like buying yourself flowers, or remembering to take time for yourself, or, asking the question, who am I? I mean, some people are so mired in feeling uncomfortable and not being connected that they don't even take time, and time is a beautiful self-love tool as well. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, taking time for yourself. Time is one of the most precious things we have, and we should give ourselves time. Take our time for ourselves to do something that we like. And boy, am I a big violator of that one. So that's one of the things that we really should do, and we often don't. Could that create also imbalances in the body?
It can create imbalances in the body. Not taking time for yourself. So you were saying before that we were talking about how being blocked on an energetic level, whether we're blocked on the energetic level or the block originates on the physical level, the discomfort from it is the signal that there's something to change, there's something to shift, there's something to heal. So when you're in that state of connection, and when you're taking time for yourself, and when you're, 20 minutes, what you thought was 20 minutes actually was an hour and a half because you were so in the flow, that's where well-being, really, really flourishes. It's the chicken or the egg, or both. And both.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. So once you get below the conscious mind into the subconscious, time gets distorted sometime. And if you reach beyond the subconscious, time doesn't exist as we know it at all. So the 20 minutes that you mentioned being an hour and a half, that is perfectly normal for what's outside of the physical.
Yes. And when that happens, it usually feels really good, because we're usually, a surgeon who loves, his art could be in an 8-hour surgery and, time just flows by, or an artist who makes a painting, or somebody who makes jewelry, or, anything that we love to do, or that drive that we take where we end up at the stoplight and go, wow, I don't even remember getting here. You know, the time just seems to evaporate like that. Yes.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah. When you're doing a Reiki, do you have some success stories that you may want to mention?
I do. My favorite one was with a Western trained doctor, and he was actually my doctor, and he text messaged me, which was amazing, and said that he was traveling across the country and he was deathly ill from traveling, and would I do distance Reiki with him? So I was like, okay, that's good with me. So I did a distance Reiki session with him, and the next morning he text messaged me as well, and he said that he was like 90% better, which was unusual for him. He, as he put it in his own words, he never traveled well, so he always expected he would get sick on trips. And he actually asked me for Reiki a second time, so I believe that it worked for him.
That's excellent. Yeah. Go ahead.
I have a recent experience, and this is still a work in progress. A friend's husband was in a really traumatic accident, and he's in the process of healing. And he has a traumatic brain injury, and he agreed to allow me to do Reiki with him. And the night that I was doing the session, now granted, he's just getting his language back, you know, and he's immobilized on one side of his body still. But I did the session, and his wife told me that the next day, all he kept saying was he saw white. He saw white during the time that the session was happening. And he had a very good day the next day. But I thought that was interesting that, you know, he envisioned the impression of white and the energy, I think.
That's interesting. Yeah, well, he was able to see things that maybe other people wouldn't see. And now, Reiki is not just a presence. You don't have to be with them. You can do it at a distance. Do you do it on the telephone, or maybe on Skype, or across the world if you like? There's no limitation to that, is it?
No, that's exactly right, and that's how that last session went, because he's in, he's you know, many states away from me, so it was distance Reiki, and you know, the studies, they call it non-local healing, non-local. The studies on non-local healing, you know, kind of relates back to a very acceptable, the way that prayer works, you know, the way that prayer kind of travels and works. It's kind of the same sense with Reiki. So I either do sessions in person, often during my hypnotherapy sessions on Skype, I ask permission, you know, if I'm inspired to do Reiki, would they receive it? So I do Reiki during some of my sessions. And then, of course, I do the distance sessions, which we set a time, you know, and this way the person takes time for themselves, and I kind of tune in and tap in and, you know, follow the energy and do the session. So it can be done. You don't even need a telephone.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to do necessarily talking to them. Once you have tuned into them, then you are connected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a thing called a Reiki grid, where you can direct the energy to a location. And this person was having problems with neighbors, and, you know, began to feel like, you know, like their house was, you know, cursed, or was the target of bad energy or something. So I did a Reiki grid with them, and a week later, they realized that all of the things that they were noticing that were leading them to that perception had stopped. So, yeah, that was kind of amazing to me too.
Well, that's good. That's it shows that it works.
It does.
Yeah. And for the session itself, you spend an hour with them maybe, or possibly less, or
Reiki in person, or
at the long distance or in person.
My distance Reiki sessions are 45 minutes to an hour. Often, when the person has had enough, I know, but I stay in session and continue to hold space. So in person, it's an hour, sometimes an hour and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hands-on, or it could be hands just above the body if people don't like to be touched.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. I mean, the worst that can happen in a Reiki session is that you feel like you had a good massage or a really good nap. That's like the worst that could happen.
Yeah. Well, how can you go wrong with that? It's
the best that could happen is really unlimited. It's unlimited.
Yeah, and I want to mention your website again too. The one that you're still building on that one, are you?
I am still building. My Everything Conscious website is going to be like the hub, for all of my offerings. My intention is to create well-being on all levels. So there will be some things there other than services that people can look at, some products that I really have tested and found to be very helpful, some spiritual jewelry, energetic jewelry, some oils that I think are absolutely helpful. So it's going to be everythingconscious.com, and my services will be under there as well.
Okay, and then your email, maybe the one that goes with that website, will be everythingconscious@gmail.com?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, and I know you are doing a lot of this now, so you are open for business, and you can pretty much take on any challenge, I suppose. But there may be some things that, if it gets too deep, maybe you would refer back to the allopathic system, or even cancers and stuff like that. Would you still try it?
Well, my belief is I believe in collaboration, and if a person needs medical attention, I mean, I was a nurse. I'm still a nurse, for 20-something years. There is a benefit to that, and I don't say that I do medical treatment or psychotherapy or it's medication. So I love to co-create with medical people. I absolutely love it. And some doctors who can't find the cause of pain, sometimes eventually, do refer people to hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
And Reiki. Mm-hmm. But people can follow me. I know Facebook is pretty popular. I'm Hypnotherapy with Love on Facebook, and I do life coaching, law of attraction life coaching. We didn't talk much about that, but the Reiki and the hypnotherapy is just so delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking too that, whatever the doctors and the medical profession has told people to do, they should still do it, but they can use something like this in addition to.
Absolutely. And, doctors are, like I said, the medical system is becoming more accepting of Reiki. Reiki is in the emergency rooms, Reiki is in the hospitals, Reiki is certainly in many hospices now. And why not? I mean, I was an emergency room nurse. If I had that one patient that was impossible to deal with, and they would be calmed, soothed, or otherwise made well by Reiki, I'd be all for it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me. And we're getting down towards the end of the show here, so I would like to maybe do another one with you. There's so much more to talk about. There's many other things that you do, so we'll get together on that sometime and maybe get another one going. If I can talk you into it.
I would love that. This was so enjoyable,
Yeah.
and I'm so incredibly grateful. Thank you.
And that's good. And again, her website is www.everythingconscious.com, and you can reach all the things that she does in there. And also, I would remind people that we are a donation-based radio station. So if you like to help us out, that will be wonderful. If you like what you hear, commit yourself to just a few dollars for every month, and that will help a lot for the people that makes things work behind the curtain here. And from there on, I think we are going to go off the air here shortly. So we will see you next week. And I thank Nori Love very much for being with us here. This was interesting. It was wonderful. And until then, take care of yourself.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Kraft, and I'm a Reiki Master Teacher. Today, I'm showing you how to do Reiki. Right now, I'm showing you how Reiki works. You can do Reiki on yourself, others, your animals, or even inanimate objects. So for example, if you wanted to add more life force energy into your food or your water, you could Reiki that. You could also Reiki your car or your computer. When you're doing Reiki on someone in person, you just place your hands very lightly on them, like this. Or you can hold your hands slightly above them, a few inches above them, like this. The energy still goes to them, whether you're touching them or not. If you're doing Reiki from a distance, you can just imagine that the person is small and inside your hands like this and send them energy that way. Or you can visualize that you're there with them doing Reiki on them. Because everything is energy, you can just send that energy where you want it to go. Reiki has its own intelligence. So, for example, if I'm doing Reiki on the head, but more energy is needed at the foot, it will go there. The Reiki energy changes temperature depending on what is needed by the recipient. So if there's an injury that requires cold, Reiki energy will turn cold at that location. As soon as I move my hands to another location, the Reiki energy turns hot again, if that's what's needed. Reiki heals on all levels, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So it goes to the origin of the issue. It may take several sessions for you to see an improvement of your condition because it's healing at the origin of the issue, whether it's the soul, mental, emotional level. It shows up in the physical level as the last place. There are other conditions that Reiki can help with immediately, things like accidents or other environmental causes. So that's how Reiki works. Next, I'm going to explain what a Reiki session is like.
To watch the other segments in this video series or for how-to videos on almost any other topic, visit monkeyseed.com.